what is your business and how do you serve your customers?
I am a speaker. I teach people how to remember everyone they meet at an event. I'm the author of the book, Remember the Room, How to Remember Everyone You Meet at an Event. And so now I do workshops and keynote presentations, teaching anybody, salespeople, teachers, anybody who has to get in front of somebody, how to remember the names of everyone you meet.
Awesome. Tell me about the idea of imagination equals money. How does that all get brought into this?
Imagination equals memory. Yes. This is a concept that people have to understand. A lot of times people will say to me, "Oh, you're a memory expert." And I have to correct them and say, "No, I'm not a memory expert. I don't have any better memory than you do. Okay. I've just learned some tricks and techniques." So what I teach in the keynote presentations and what I teach in the book are memory techniques that anybody can do with just average memory skills. So if I ask people, "Do you have a great memory?" they usually say no. But if I ask, "Do you have a great imagination?" they usually say yes. And that's great because my memory technique uses imagination. If you can imagine it, you can remember it.
Nice. So with that being said, tell me about those 3 steps to help people keep that imagination alive.
The 3 steps to recall someone's name are look, listen, and link. And by that, I mean that first you're going to look at the person. You're going to choose some striking feature of them. And second, you're going to listen to the name. And you're going to convert that into a memorable image. And then you're going to link the striking feature to the name image. Look, listen, link. 3 steps, happens instantly when you meet somebody.
Nice. Can you give me an example of how to, kind of put that into myself or something like that?
But when you first meet somebody, there's probably going to be something about their looks that you're going to notice first. That's what I call a striking feature. And you should usually choose a striking feature because if you meet them and then you don't see them for a week or 2 weeks or something, and you see them again, you're going to notice the striking feature first. And so that's what you'll use as your memory cue. Okay. So when I look at you, I meet you and say, "Andrew." Okay. So first thing is that I look at your face and I see, okay, kind of like red hair, red beard, mustache. Okay. To me, that's striking feature. Okay. And so that's what I would choose as striking feature. So first, when I look, the second step is listen. Now, when you hear somebody's name, names are hard because they're nonsense words. What is an Andrew? What is a Michael? What is a Lisa? They're words without definitions. And people always say, "Oh, I'm so bad at names." Well, you're bad at names because names are not something memorable. And so to make it more memorable, we have to convert the name into an object or an image that we can see. So someone says their name is Michael. You could take part of that name, Mike, and convert it into an image of microphone. And that's what you use as your image. So someone says their name is Andrew. Well, you have to convert that into an image, okay? So the first part of the name sounds like ant, right? The second part sounds like Drew. Now I can make a little image in my mind of an artistic ant, right?
Yeah, that's good.
And what's he drawing? You know what he's drawing in you? Red beard face, like that. So you make a little image in your mind.
Nice.
And you link them together that way. I know it sounds weird. It sounds childish, but that's why it works. Because extraordinary and weird is a lot easier to remember than boring and ordinary.
I agree with that. I'm just trying to think of ways how to improve myself with memory. I will easily tell you that my memory's horrible.
Yeah, I hear that, Paul. I hear that from a lot of people. And that just means that it's not trained. Your memory is probably not any worse than anybody else, but you just have to be trained on how to use it. And that requires active listening. So when you go to an event, you're going to meet a lot of people. And you want to try to recall as many people as you can, but that means that you have to be actively listening and really looking at people when you meet them.
Right. So to go with it, a little segue off that, just thinking about adding in a little bit of mental illness. So people with ADHD here, that have, issues with focusing, how do you help those people, right, remember and memorize things more?
Well, if someone has an imagination, this will work for them.
Oh,
Okay. That's the thing. It's because you can remember things that you see a lot easier than things that you don't see. So if you just imagine it in your mind. So wherever somebody's at, someone says, "Oh, I'm too old. I can't do this." Well, you can be better. Whatever level you're at, these memory techniques, these mnemonic techniques will help to raise you up a notch.
awesome. So if I get into like a group event,
So what?
in like some sort of group event where there's lots of people,
Yes,
so does this apply there as well?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's how I learned to do it, was at a group event. I used to be a professional magician. About 20 years, that's all I did was magic. And I would often, if I get hired for a corporate event, I do some walk around magic during the social hour, before dinner. And I do tricks for people. And then after dinner, I'd stand up on stage and I'd do a show. Now, when I did my walk around magic, usually I never asked people their names because I didn't need to. There was no reason. It didn't add to the show, and that wasn't what it was about. I would just do tricks for people. But I was at an event, a small event in Mankato one year, and there was less than 20 people. There might have only been 15 people there. And I just made a decision on the spot. I said, I'm going to try to be more personable. Since it's a small group, I'll just ask people their names. So I was asking people their names, and then I'd show them some tricks. That was as far as I planned to go with it. But I overheard some of the people in the group talking about me, and they were anticipating that I was memorizing people's names. I heard them saying, oh, they heard a memory person who remembered everybody. And I thought about that. I thought, hey, I know everybody here in the group. I think I'll do that. So they gave me the idea. So then after dinner, when I did my stand-up show, after my first trick, I named everybody in the audience. And that was, okay, it was only 15 people, but the reaction was amazing. It was instant applause. It was like I had just done an amazing magic trick. And of course, as a performer, I live for applause, right? So I said, hey, I'm going to try to do that again. And so I did. I tried and I got better and better at it. And I tell people now that I can remember more than 40 people when I go to an event. And I only say 40 because if I say more, people will not believe that they can do it. If I say that I can remember more than 40 people, they will ascribe to me some special innate talent that allows me to do that. But I don't have an innate talent, and I've memorized many more than that. In fact, on my website, you can see a video of me recalling the names of 80 people. So yes, this memory technique will work for any size group. If you're a teacher or if you're a salesperson. I recently spoke to a group of realtors, and I told them that they could use this for an open house. Because a lot of times they're doing an open house and a family comes in and there's 3 or 4 people, and then another family comes in and all of a sudden there's 6 or 8 or 9 people that this realtor has to remember. Well, this is a technique that they can use.
Oh, that's impressive.
Anybody can do it.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I gotta come to you for that for sure. Yes. No, I don't get too much sleep myself, so I also got the that's self-inflicted damage there to my own memory.
Oh, well, that's all of us one way or another. Exactly.
Yeah, so I guess because I don't remember necessarily all the other questions.
Sure. I'll have more.
What's one piece of inspiration that drives you or could benefit others?
One of the hardest things that I have to do when I speak at keynote presentations or workshops is to convince other people that they can do this. And so I really want to inspire people and convince them that they can do this. If I can do it, they can do it. And so that is my goal, to help other people to realize that they that they can be empowered. And one of the ways that I do that is in my book, Remember the Room, I've got a section where I teach how to remember a list of 10 items. And the skills that are learned in that can be applied to name recall. But I have them remember, I list 10 items, and then later in the next chapter, I ask them to recite it. And I want to give people the experience, the feeling that they can do this. And that's why I put a quiz in my book so they can say, hey, that really came to me very quickly. And in my keynote presentations, I teach a couple of different memory techniques. And then I have a little memory quiz for people. I say, what was item number 3? What was item number 4? And using the techniques that I teach, it just comes back to them very quickly. And they're surprised. They're shocked that it can come to them so fast. So that's one thing that I try to inspire people with, is to say, you can do this. I don't have any special memory gift. Anyone can do this.
Right. Nice. What's a moment in the journey that has changed everything?
I think there were 2 things. The first thing that got me started was when I was the magician, and I learned that I could remember names and that people liked that. That was really what got me started on the journey. And that was 30 years ago, probably. So since that time, I started training and teaching other people. And then when I was doing marketing for my brother's tech company, I had to do a lot of networking. And so all of a sudden, I had to start applying these techniques that I had learned as a magician. But I was going to networking events twice a month. I was meeting business people. And so I started applying these techniques. And I said, yeah, this is working. I'm meeting somebody. They come back. I remember them again. I met a woman who, her name was Pam. She had kind of an unusual hairstyle. I said, I'm going to try to remember her. I looked at the hair as a striking feature. And then I saw her about 2 weeks later. And I called her by name. I said, hi, Pam. And then, of course, I introduced myself and said, I'm Bob. And she said, thank you for telling me that, because I wouldn't have remembered. And so what I learned was that the memory, learning people's names helps them to feel good. It helps them to feel valued, because, hey, you remembered my name. That makes me feel really good. But you also don't want them to feel bad by not remembering your name, right? Oh, now they feel doubly embarrassed because you remembered them from 3 weeks ago and they don't remember you. So I never wait for them to say my name. I tell them my name right away. That way they don't admit that they didn't remember. So I guess what I've discovered is that people like it. When you remember their names, they feel valued and important. And you should also help them to not be embarrassed themselves by introducing yourself and telling them your name right away. So for me, I would say the turning point was when I was doing all that networking in the group, and I started realizing the interaction and what it means to remember people's names. And it's really because I had that job as the marketing director in my brother's tech company that I was able to be the author of my book. Okay. I didn't write my book until after I started doing networking professionally in business environments. And then I have lots of stories in there about me meeting people during the event. So doing that as my job for networking was really a turning point for me. And that's what helped me to author the book too.
Tell me more about your book.
Remember the Room, How to Remember Everyone You Meet at an Event, is an easy read. It's only maybe 120 pages, and it's got lots of stories in there about networking events. Networking stories I did, like I tell a story about when I went to a networking event, and I was one of the last people to be introduced to do my 5-minute presentation. And I said, oh, by the way, I memorized the names of all the other 30 people in the group. And I got challenged on that. I said, really? So then I went around and I named everybody. So the lesson is, if you want to be remembered, you remember other people. That's how you be memorable.
Nice. That's a good way to bring into good business practice as well. So how do you elevate businesses with the memory techniques that you bring into play?
I teach at memory workshops and I do keynote presentations, keynotes and training workshops.
Hey, it's Will with the Podcast Crew team. Spotlight is a vidcast shot at the Podcast Crew Studios in Minneapolis. We would love for you to be our guest. Email us at the email address on your screen below to get a copy of the upcoming schedule. It's free, it's easy, and it's a great way to try out a podcast or a vidcast with our pro team. We do an in-person, in-studio version if you're in the Twin Cities area, and also an online version if you're somewhere else. We'd love to have you, hear your story, and help you start your podcast journey. Thanks. Get in touch today.